Alright, so now we're going to do the Maintenance Plus rebuild. So we're actually going to remove some components of this assembly here and some flanges behind it. So we have our replacement part kit here. Now the manufacturer claims this should only be done every other rebuild. However, we have been doing it almost every time in recent years. So it has a couple different components in it. It has some new O-ring replacements. We have a grease that will apply, and we have a special Teflon gasket that will get inserted. Kind of looks a little weird. Okay, so first thing we need to do is now, over here, you can see that we have a real big bolt in here. And, of course, what we probably should have done is try to unfasten this bolt before we remove those components. So let this kind of be a lesson. However, doing it this way will give us more freedom. Alright, so I've now, so I've loosened it a little bit. Alright, that's all we need to do, just a little bit. And we then have this piece right here, which, once again, doing this kind of on the video, you forget some things. This actually should have been loosened first, because there was tension on it with this first piece. So I may actually need to put it back in the vise before doing the loosening. It's been a long time since I've done one of these, and I forgot about the order of things. But doing it wrong is the best way to remember how to do it right. There we go, so that wasn't too bad. Okay. Perfect. So this whole assembly will just come right out. And then you'll see that there's another assembly back here. And we will start to take this guy out. The position of these are not always ideal. There we go. Removing these 3 set screws. Alright, then typically maybe with your Allen wrench, just kind of give it a little bit of a nudge and it will separate. Come off. Now as you can see, we've got a lot of Teflon dust, and obviously you can kind of get an idea of where that Teflon replacement is going to be. Okay? You'll see in here that we have an O-ring that decided to stay behind as opposed to be in this groove. This is where the O-ring came from. So this O-ring obviously is getting replaced, so we can discard it. We will need to clean the area inside around there with the alcohol. And then the next step is to take this assembly apart. So this is actually two pieces smashed together. It's a different sized alum, 2.5 millimeter. This comes apart. As you can see, we have also an O-ring there too. Now this particular gasket actually looks like it's in fairly decent shape. So at this point, we'll need to take a close look at it before we decide about replacing it. But you know what? Looking at it, it is very thin. The wall is pretty rubbery. And it looks as though in here, as a lot of the material has been stripped off of it. So we are going to go ahead and replace all of this. So something you can do to get rid of some of the goop is to take a piece of Kim wipe and wrap it around the Allen wrench, a small one, and stick it in the groove. And just basically dig out the goop. Because whether you knew it or not, there is a groove in here where we apply the lubricant. Now this stuff will never truly all the way come out. You'll always have some residue, no matter how much alcohol you use, but at least we can get a lot of it out and replace it with some fresh stuff. Very viscous. This O-ring will also discard, that'll get replaced, as well as this gasket. scrape out the goop as much as we can. Then we'll just take another piece of Kim wipe, kind of do a final wipe out. Try to get the big pieces of debris that got pushed around. If there's any little bits of material, we'll use some alcohol on it, and then we'll start putting the assembly back together. In the kit, you'll find a lubricant, two components you have to screw the head on. Now sometimes these can be damaged, they're cheap little things. There may be a spare in the toolbox. Out of the way, and you just need to kind of push it up slowly until you see that, that it comes out a little bit, and then we basically inject into the cavity. So as you can see, we've really used very little of it. Now, see what I meant about it's got damage? It's got a hole in the side of it, so that it just shoots out. You know, there's really no use for the rest of the stuff, and when it has damage like that, you just pitch it. No need to save it. If it doesn't have damage and you have leftovers, it doesn't hurt anything to hold on to it. So we go to our funny looking piece here. First, we'll find the O-ring. Right around there. And this guy just gets inserted just like that. Now this black piece in the center here, that's temporary. You'll see what happens to it in just a few minutes. That will get removed as it slides onto the assembly cylinder. So I'm now going to clean this piece, and then we're going to do the mating of this flange to that flange.